Okay, good evening and Happy New Year, and thank you to everyone who is here for our January board meeting. It's good to see everyone here tonight. I would like to call our January meeting to order. Mr. Sides?
As we look back on the year of 2017, we celebrate the successes and we mourn the losses. For some in the UCPS family, the losses have been severe, and they will always be in our prayers. We look forward with hope to 2018. Be with us through the year as we make the decisions and seek the guidance to be a benefit to our students, our parents, our staff, and the rest of the UCPS family. Amen.
We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand.
Forward. To the right. North. Go. Hold. Breathe in. Go.
If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry. Go.
Thank you.
Cut. To the left. Mark. Forward. Mark.
Which ones are these? All of them? And board, that brings us to the approval of the agenda. Madam Chair, I have some changes to the agenda for tonight. We'd like to pull off of the consent agenda, the energy conservation RFQ, and put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And under facilities update, I'd like to add two things. A bond projects revision and make that an action item. And B, Sun Valley High School design change and make that an action item. I earlier today sent those items to the members of the board and staff, and they're at your places as well. And those are my changes. Okay. Anyone else?
Madam Chair, I think we can take out of the Finance Committee report the budget preparation calendar, which is on the consent agenda. Well, no.
That's
okay,
the regular calendar. That's the school calendar.
Excuse me.
Okay, so we're keeping
Keeping it.
it. Okay, no changes. Okay, anyone else?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as amended.
Second. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, board, if you would please walk around, we will have the John H. Crowder Service Award.
Each month, we recognize a high school student with the John H. Crowder Service Award. This award is a living tribute to the late John H. Crowder, who spent more than 30 years serving the children of Union County. In order to receive this award, the student must be academically successful and also have an established history of community service. Tonight, we would like to award the John H. Crowder Service Award to a very, very special student from Forest Hills. Will Jordan Evans please come forward? Jordan Evans is not only an outstanding senior, he dedicates time out of his rigorous schedule to give back to the community. On top of being a student and hardworking athlete, Jordan volunteers at several organizations: the Homeless Shelter, Crisis Assistant Ministry, alongside the local Department of Social Services. This past Christmas, Jordan worked with Forest Hills High's I'm a Girl program to build a habitat house for a family in need. Thank you. Additionally, Jordan has volunteered with Delta Sigma Phi Sorority Incorporated's Health Fair, Blood Drive, and annual community clothing giveaway event. The Board of Education is very, very proud of you, Jordan, and we would like to give you currently the January recipient of the John H. Crowder Service Award. Can we all give him a hand, please?
The Union County Public Schools Employee of the Month Award recognizes employees in non-teacher, non-certified positions. It was created to honor those who have exemplary work and performance, those who promote positive morale, or possibly those who demonstrate initiatives and creativity that improve the operating efficiency of their department or district. Individuals can be nominated based on their performance, their customer service, or an individual incident that merits commendation. Our January recipient is Virginia Gutierrez, UCPS Licensure Specialist and Participate Support Facilitator. Dr. Lillian Roy will now come forward to introduce our recipient.
Good evening and Happy New Year. Ms. Virginia Gutierrez serves as the lead licensure specialist in our Human Resources Division. She is very knowledgeable about licensure policies, and she uses her knowledge to provide excellent customer service to the district and other stakeholders. For example, she proactively accessed the applicant tracking system to identify licensed potential teaching candidates to assist schools that needed to fill vacancies. Due to her proactive measures, these candidates could be placed in a licensure pipeline of eligibility for interviews. At a time when it is a challenge to fill vacancies, proactive measures such as these are extremely important for the arena in which we serve. Ms. Gutierrez should also be commended for her team leadership in responding to the impact of recent legislative actions on licensure services and procedures. For example, the legislative changes in the testing requirements for licensure prompted collaboration with her supervisor and team members to schedule meetings, draft letters, and gather information that would provide the best customer service and information to employees who have been affected by this legislation. Ms. Gutierrez is truly deserving of recognition for her outstanding customer service. I will now read the Employee of the Month proclamation from the Board of Education and Dr. Houlihan. Whereas The Union County Board of Education values the hard work of each employee within the district. Whereas performance is an essential part of district operations. Whereas Virginia Gutierrez exemplifies the performance, dedication, and teamwork essential to the success of the district and its students. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Education for Union County Public Schools, and Dr. Andrew G. Houlihan, Superintendent, hereby proclaim Virginia Gutierrez as the Employee of the Month for the month of January 2018. Virginia Gutierrez. And we are so pleased that her mother and her aunt could join her, and a special friend of the family. We are very proud of Ms. Gutierrez.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Houlihan. Last month, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction named Unionville Elementary School a North Carolina Model Global Ready School, making the school a leader in its focus upon global education. Unionville Elementary is the second school in North Carolina and the first in Union County Public Schools to receive this distinction. Unionville was recognized for consistently implementing systems and processes to support global readiness, and was also praised for its well-developed cutting-edge practices that have resulted in a consistent high-level impact to students. From world language and education courses to global partnerships to community service opportunities that expose students to a number of world topics and issues, Unionville Elementary offers a comprehensive global experience to teachers and students that surpass what is offered in other schools in the state. Tonight, we are honored to recognize Unionville Elementary for its state recognition and commitment to providing global education to all students. We ask the principal and assistant principal and any other staff members to come forward at this time. Let's congratulate them. Thank you very much. That concludes our recognitions.
Okay, board, that brings us to public comments. 30 minutes has been allotted for public comments. Community members wishing to speak during public comments should state their name, address, phone number prior to making any other comments. The board will not hear in open session complaints about performance of school personnel, personnel issues, or confidential student issues. Individuals may address the board for a maximum of 3 minutes. Any person who is appointed representative for a group may address the board for a maximum of 5 minutes. Should a community member wish to seek information or share items that may not be shared during public comments, our staff are available to address your concerns or provide information. Dr. Charles Faust, Chief School Performance Officer, is available. Dr. Chris Barnes, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and Dr. John Jones, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, are here to assist.
And we have quite a number of people signed up for tonight. We will begin with Mr. Lars Knapp of Indian Trail, if he is present. Okay. We will move to Mr. Montel Burton, if he is present. Okay. Does not appear he is here. Mr. Mike Black from Weddington.
Hi, my name is Mike Black, 185 Valley Glen Drive in Weddington. Phone number 704-321-9828. I come before the board tonight regarding the redistricting of 4 neighborhoods in Western Union County at the Union County line, specifically Steeplechase, Highgate, The Retreat, and Weddington Estates. In a couple of weeks, the board will receive 1, possibly 2 options for redistricting the county from the Citizens Advisory Committee. I'm addressing you today seeking help for our 4 neighborhoods, as working with Matthew Cropper, Dr. McKibben, and the CAC has been a futile effort. These neighborhoods have been ignored and written off for unknown and arbitrary reasons. Currently, the CAC have 2 options they are considering. For both options, our neighborhoods are being sent to Marvin Ridge Middle and High School. I know a large number of sitting board members ran for office and were elected, stating their desire to emphasize neighborhood schools. I believe the board is trying to address those issues that were created with the last redistricting effort. The board is trying to overcome busing inefficiencies and increased transportation costs. For our 4 neighborhoods, the CAC has failed to address any of those criteria that the board is seeking to correct. There are other neighborhoods that are much closer to Marvin Ridge. Inexplicably, the CAC has chosen to send these neighborhoods to Weddington. Yet, our 4 neighborhoods, which are closer to Weddington, are being sent and forced to Marvin Ridge. This board has made it abundantly clear. You want kids to attend neighborhood schools, more efficient busing, and lower transportation costs. Sending 27 kids from our 4 neighborhoods to Marvin Ridge fails to accomplish that goal. When the board receives the CAC's official recommendation in the coming weeks, I ask you to do the right thing and correct the CAC's mistake. Send Steeplechase, Weddington Estates, Highgate, and The Retreat back to Weddington Cluster Schools. Keep our kids attending the only neighborhood school we've ever known, and at the same time, save on transportation costs. I live in Weddington. I pay taxes to the town of Weddington, and my kids should attend Weddington schools. Weddington Cluster Schools are our home. Thank you.
Next, we will have Commissioner Richard Helms.
My name is Richard Helms. I reside at 1212 Rose Hill Drive, Waxhaw address. My telephone number is 704-576-3357. First, I'd like to ask the board and Dr. Houlihan a question. And that is, and I think I know the answer because I heard it tonight, when you recognized your teacher, how important all your teachers were, how important all your children are. I'm here to talk about a process or a policy that has existed, I know, for over 20 years in Union County Public Schools. And I'd ask for reconsideration of how this policy works. Certain programs in athletics, primarily, are funded by the schools, give considerable funding. There are activities such as band and such as these young men in the junior ROTC that were here tonight that don't receive that funding. I would ask that you reconsider because every child is important. I think you'll agree with me on that. Reconsider appropriate funding for the Band Association, ROTC, and I can't validate, I heard the cheerleaders were the same thing, to allow them because it puts a burden. I mean, 20 years ago, I worked in this and I thought, surely this is not going to last. Well, I understand it's still here. So fund these young people, give them the tools they need, the uniforms they need, if they're going to participate and put on shows for our citizens, as you do with your football games, and I'll use that as an example. But right now, the parents of band have to pull the whole load by themselves. They don't get any of the gate. They don't get any of the concessions. But yet they work and work the field. So I'd ask that you'd reconsider that and make all of our children just as important, even in our athletics and extracurricular programs. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Mr. Stephen Davis.
My name is Stephen Davis. My address is 1106 Oak Alley Drive, Indian Trail, North Carolina. My phone number is 704-254-7454. I'd like to start by saying that Mr. Dennis Rape should resign. His comments were not only racially insensitive, but very revealing. While we as a society strive for racial harmony, Mr. Rape seeks to destroy it or at least undermine it. This rhetoric is not only out of place in our school system, it is out of time in 2018. It belongs in the Jim Crow era. This is the kind of attitude that should be, is this the kind of attitude that should be determining our children's future? Children need to know and feel they are equal to each other, not superior or inferior, and especially from the administration. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Pamela Allen.
Good evening, Board. We, the undersigned, call on Dennis Rape to immediately resign his position on the Union County Public School Board of Education. We support the UCPS Board of Education in their censure of Dennis Rape and their cause of his resignation. Dennis Rape's racially insensitive comments show that he cannot effectively represent all of UCPS parents or students. Thank you.
Yeah, you need to state your name, address, and phone number.
Pamela Allen, 1000 Fallendale Road, Waxhaw, North Carolina. Phone number is 813-244-4450. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Ian Burke.
Ian Burke, 202 Abbotsbury Court, Waxhaw, phone number 404-234-2374. Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Houlihan, I'm here today to also, like many other members of the audience, ask that Mr. Dennis Rape offer his resignation to the board. I was shocked and then appalled when I first learned of the accusations made against Mr. Rape and then watched his half-hearted non-apology on the webcast. As a father of multi-ethnic children who have faced racially insensitive and ethnically cruel jokes in the Union County schools and school buses, I believe the board administrators and educators and parents must all set strong examples for our children to be successful individuals and caring citizens in our society. I am thankful that the issues that my daughters faced in their own situations were handled with the seriousness and appropriateness deemed by the principal and vice principals in their school. And I appreciate the board's move to censure Mr. Rape and call for his resignation. Mr. Rape, I call on you to resign and let the board and our administrators and educators move on with the business of shaping education in our county. I call on you to resign so that your seat may be filled by someone who can more effectively deal with the business at hand, and resign so that you can begin to be a better role model for our kids by taking responsibility for your actions. Thank you.
Next is Gary Studley.
My name is Gary Studley. I live at 3120 Helen Drive, Mineral Springs. Phone number 704-843-3112. I'm here to testify about the good character of Mr. Dennis Rape. I've taught with him for 6 or 7 years at the Career Center. Dennis has always had the interest and the heart of all the students of Union County. I've witnessed what an excellent teacher he is. He's a mentor to students. My grandson has taken Mr. Rape's class. My grandson has told me many times what a good teacher he was. He tried to point these children in the right direction. I just find Mr. Rape an excellent mentor to these kids. Thank you.
Okay, and I believe we have a final one, Joe Ledford. Okay. That concludes public comments. And brings us to academic program highlights.
Good evening again, board members. Dr. Houlihan. Again, happy New Year to all of you. In our academic focus tonight, we'd like to take the opportunity to brief the board in our current process regarding advanced ed accreditation. In our focus, we need to inform you regarding our engagement and review with the advanced ed organization, that is the governing body which provides our system with district accreditation every 5 years. Advanced Ed is the largest community of education professionals in the world when it comes to accreditation. They aim not only to certify our institution according to international standards, but also provide a framework of continuous improvement. This year, Union County Public Schools will be a part of a review process at the school and district levels that is aligned with Advanced Ed standards, and as planned, we plan to achieve accreditation for another 5 years. A little bit regarding our history with Advanced Ed. In 2006, 2007, prior to that, this was known as the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. Schools were accredited individually, but in 2007, Union County was one of the first school districts to participate in district accreditation under what was called Sachs-Casey. This was the old Southern Association model. All schools were accredited at that point, and there were 6 areas of improved targets that we had at that time as a school system. In 2009, we presented a midterm report, and all areas noted for improvement were either marked as completed or progressing. And beyond that, then all areas were marked as complete. Well, then in 2013, 5 years ago, and you'll hear me use the word first. I think Union County is a system of first when it comes to this because it seems they always renew or put in new standards just at the time we go for renewal. But we can roll with that. So in 2013, we had a quality assurance review that was led by Dr. David Galat. Ms. Helms was sitting on the board at that time and participated in that review. And again, that was 5 years ago. And this was under the organization then named Advance Ed. There were 7 standards that we had at that time that we were measured with. And we had a team of 10 people that came in and completed an accreditation review. There were 4 recommendations, lots of commendations, but 4 recommendations that we have been working on in the last 4 years. First of all, school improvement process planning. We have increased our work with school improvement planning to involve review of the board or review by board members, as well as review by principal peers, and putting more stock into mid-year reviews and ongoing process. Secondly, professional learning communities. That is gathering teachers who teach like courses or schools working at collective voices in planning. We've increased that process. Goal number 3, to improve assessments and looking deeper at our data. Since then, we've put in benchmarks as well as formative assessments. That continues to be an emphasis of our superintendents as well in monitoring continuous improvement. That has been added with deeper dives and data for review. And finally, further work with the individual child. Now, we were commended for our work with supporting students and our alternative programs that make sure we don't stop the education process when a student makes a mistake or there's a change in a student's life. That being said, at that time, they were giving that recommendation to all systems they reviewed, having an advocate for each child. And we've continued that work with MTSS as well as our social and emotional support efforts that Dr. Houlihan has led us in providing. So those were the 4 areas, and we've provided a 2-year recommendation for that and have met all expectations. So we are now prepared for the cycle to continue and have another team come in and complete the process. So where are we now? Well, SACS continues as Advance Ed, and Advance Ed will look at individual schools. They will look at district operations. They will look at board governance, which was rated highly in the last one, and we anticipate that also will be rated highly in this visit. Parent and student stakeholder information, and finally, how our vision leads to success. We want to look at the what and the why, and we have to make sure that student learning and organizational efficacy is shown in documentation as well as how it leads to progress. So those are going to be the things they're going to be looking at specifically in the upcoming visit. So it really is looking at process and product of the system, not just what the end result is, but what our process is and how we do that collectively with all 53 schools. They also will do that within 3 frameworks of the system. Really, it's learn and share, examine and plan, and act and evaluate. If you've been around and heard us talk about plan, do, study, act, that's really what this framework is all about. We're really learning and gathering information from our stakeholders. We're then taking information from our students and our stakeholders, and we're analyzing it. And then they're going to look at how we put that in a plan for improvement, how it is that we set strategies. Certainly the board's strategic plan will be, I think, a strength in that process, as they will look at where we are in our strategic planning process. I told you that there were 5 standards. There were once 7. 5 years ago, there were 5, and now they have new school quality factors just in time for our review. But we're okay with that. We're going to be looking at the school quality factors of evaluation, because many of those, we spend a lot of time in that area. And without reading this list, I do want to note that school quality as well as district quality factors will be evaluated by Advance Ed. And really, in a nutshell, it's about direction, how we implement our goals and standards, what instruction looks like, how we use our resources, how we do this with efficacy, and then looking at school and district diagnostics to make decisions about how we're going to change instruction for the better, or as well as how we improve our schools. Really, it comes down to planning, presenting, and evaluating. And how we do that is a cycle, both again at the school and the district level. So if you're talking about the beginning and the middle and the end process. A lot I have on this slide. If I can just note a couple of things. Really, this is again just looking at plan, do, study, act. That first column talks about how we gather the information from our stakeholders. The second part is how we examine that, how we're looking at that with a sharp eye, and how we're looking at making decisions for improvement. And finally, how we act and evaluate. It's sharing information and evidence. The visit that will take place in April is going to be heavy on evidence. There'll be lots of evidence. But years ago, it was simply you kind of had these big bins. You just had a lot of documents and binders that you put things in. And now they really want to have conversation. And they want to come in and do observation and visit our schools and see in the environment of the regular school day, what is the evidence of the great things that we're doing in Union County Public Schools. So with that engagement review at the very bottom, we talk about some of those things. So in order to meet that process, because again, two things have to take place to receive accreditation. The schools in the district have to participate in a self-assessment. And secondly, we participate in an engagement review, which the team comes in. Those dates are April the 15th through the 18th. And then they will be looking at a lot of the evidence you see at the bottom of this slide. So what does it mean for Union County Public Schools? In the first phase, we have already sent out surveys. You may have participated in those, but those were sent out to parents, to teachers, and to students. Those are the actual advanced ed surveys that we sent out from their company. And then we have taken that data and disaggregated it and sent it to our principals, where they are now working on the second phase, developing their diagnostic or their review at their school. Principals have until the end of this month, and schools as a team, to complete that diagnostic. They will be going through each of those standards I showed you a few minutes ago and rating their schools and providing information and attaching important documentation. Now, we will do that also as a system, because remember the school review as well as the system review, and the system will participate in that as well at the same time. We'll be completing that, and that is due from the system by February the 28th. And finally, the act and evaluate. And a part of that will be the executive engagement review, which I gave you the dates a few minutes ago. So that will take place again April 15th through April 18th. Our lead chair is Dr. Steve Epperson, a former superintendent who lives in Illinois. And he's already made several calls, and we've already sent documentation. Everything is positive thus far, and he's excited about coming to visit. But they will arrive on Sunday the 15th, approximately 10 people on the team. We do not anticipate there will be members from the Charlotte area. There may be a few in the state. Most will be from out of state. And there will be district leadership interviews. There will be interviews with our superintendent, leadership interviews with principals. There will be a Board of Education review. So if you can, and you're available, if you can mark your calendar, and I will send this to you, but on Monday the 16th, there will be a time that they would like to speak with you as the governing board of the school system. Day number 2, they're going to spend time in schools. They will visit 20 schools. There will be 1 member and 2 district members that will go. They'll take a school in the morning and afternoon, and as they're 10, thus we'll have 20 schools that are visited. If a school is not visited, principals will come into of those schools and participate in an interview later that day. But they want to be out in Union County Public Schools, and they want to see a regular day. I said, well, you're going to see a great day. That's what you're going to see when you're out in Union County Public Schools on the 17th. And finally, on the 18th, they will, after they look at the assessments and they consider, then they may do some additional interviews. They may want to visit some more schools, or they may have some questions. And so there will be follow-up interviews with a recommendation report that will be presented. After that takes place, we'll have a report in approximately 12 weeks that we anticipate, of course, accreditation for our fine district. And then, of course, recommendations for improvement, which we certainly are open to areas that we can improve. So that's where we are in accreditation process at this time. Are there any questions?
Dr. Jones, you said Dr. Epperson?
Steve Epperson.
Is he part of an organization or an independent consultant or,
So he is a lead evaluator with Advanced Ed, just as Dr. Galat was 5 years ago. They send lead people to schools and they lead a team through the process. They chair the process.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jones.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your support.
Okay, we need to approve open session minutes for November 7th, November 20th, and December 5th.
I move that we approve the minutes from November 7th, November 20th, and December 5th, 2017.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. And that brings us to the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, board. And now we will have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy New Year. Welcome back, everyone. It's great to see everyone, and it's been great this week to be out in schools and see the tremendous amount of hard work and dedication on behalf of our teachers and principals. Everyone is excited to be back. It is January, obviously, and we know that means a lot of things, but especially this past week has meant winter weather. And I want to publicly thank our parents, our students, and our staff for all of your flexibility this week as we've made really important decisions about schedules. This is whenever we make winter weather decisions, I want the board to know and the public to know we take these matters very, very seriously. We work with local law enforcement. We work with the National Weather Service to really get the best data that we have to make the call. I also want to give a big shout out to our transportation departments and our maintenance teams. Yes, we've had some issues this week. We acknowledge that, as has other school systems across the state. But our staff has done a tremendous job proactively addressing these issues. So I want to say a big thank you. We will operate on a 2-hour delay tomorrow. We're expecting a strong wind chill, possibly in the single digits in the morning. And we also have, because of what happened yesterday in neighboring counties in South Carolina and Anson and Stanley, we have employees that live in those counties. And when your counties are shut down because roads aren't passable, we think this delay will help our employees have a little bit more time to get to schools that they did not have today. So again, I want to thank all of our communities and our parents for your understanding and your flexibility. January is National Mentoring Month, and we want to really encourage all of you to really see how you can get engaged on a mentoring level. We have many organizations that I need to thank and individuals who do take time out of their organization to really help mentor and support our students. A big example of that is our Read With You initiative. We have, I'm not sure if where Tahira is, but we are in the thousands in terms of numbers of volunteers who are mentoring our first grade students every week. I do it. I take 30 minutes out of my day to mentor a child and read with a child at Benton Heights Elementary School, and it's the best 30 minutes of my week. And so I still want to encourage you in the spirit of National Mentoring Month. If this is something that you're interested in, you can find information on our website. But thank you to all of our volunteers and our mentors. Finally, January is also National School Board Appreciation Month. So on behalf of the team, I would like to say thank you to the school board for your leadership and thank you for your support. We look forward to a fantastic semester and a great 2018. That concludes my report.
Okay, we will now have Jessica Gardner for the strategic plan update.
As Ms. Gardner comes forward, let me say in working in our division together, how excited we continue to remain in the focus upon supporting students, and in particular, having been in the district many years, what we're doing now with college readiness and supporting students. I look at the things now and I think, wow, how much more I wish I would have done along the way. But our superintendent's given us great focus in that area. Your budget has supported the work in that area. Commissioner Helms, you and the board have also supported us with that, and we want to say thank you. What you're going to hear tonight, a lot of this is that new emphasis that we are spending a lot of time, and Ms. Garner, as well as Jonathan Bowers in particular, spending a lot of time. So she's coming to share progress thus far with these efforts. Ms. Garner, thank you.
Good evening. So I'm here to share with you a little bit about strategic theme A, which is to expand opportunities and support all levels for college and career readiness. Specifically under this theme, I am working with strategic initiative number 1, which is to provide increased opportunities for students to earn high school and college dual credit through advanced placement and college and career promise, as well as earn industry certifications. So I want to talk for just a few minutes about our current state with this initiative, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing and where we're going with it. So this initiative really focuses on these 3 areas that you see on the slides. First, around our advanced placement courses. Want to just make sure that we all have a common understanding of what these 3 different areas are. So advanced placement courses are taught by our high school teachers, but they are at the level of rigor of a college course. And the students that are enrolled in these courses at the end of the year, they have to take an AP exam that is provided by the College Board. The teachers also send a syllabus in. They have to be trained by the College Board. And so this is a very monitored process, if you will. The assessment that students take in May is a national exam that we administer locally. It's scored from 1 to 5, and students who score well on that exam can receive credit from their college and in lieu of taking that course in college. Normally, a level 3 is a passing score where schools will award credit, but it really depends upon the college or the university that the students are interested in as to whether or not they'll award credit. I took some AP exams in high school, got credit for some of those, and some of them I didn't. So just depending on your score. Career and College Promise courses. This is a North Carolina program that was established in 2001. The purpose is to offer some structured opportunities for our qualified high school students to earn dual enrollment credit. And we work directly with South Piedmont Community College. They are our partner. And our students take courses either at the community college, virtually, and in some cases, we have community college instructors that come to our campuses and offer the courses. Students who take these courses will receive credit if they pass the course. So this is a little bit different than the AP exam. It's taught by a college professor from South Piedmont, or if we have a teacher who is certified to teach community college level courses, they can teach the Career and College Promise courses. And then lastly, the industry certifications. These are certifications that students can earn during high school that are also recognized in the business and industry world. I'll give you a specific example for this. Students who participate in our Nurse Aid Academy can get their certification for Certified Nurse Assistant, or CNA, which is widely accepted for employment at most medical facilities. So that type of industry certification. Our career development coordinators at each high school organize efforts around students earning these industry certifications and provide information to the families and the students for what this looks like. Students are allowed to take courses away from their home school to earn these industry certifications. Sometimes transportation can limit that, but they are allowed to take those courses. And so what I'm showing you up here on the screen are our rates for 2015-16 and then last year 16-17. Our Career and College Promise courses for the 17-18, we will have that enrollment soon. Students are actually still continuing to enroll in those courses, and so we'll have those current rates very soon. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about what this strategic initiative is focusing on so that we can increase those 3 areas. We want more students earning credit through advanced placement. We want more students earning credit through Career and College Promise. And we want more students coming out of high school with those industry certifications so that if they're wanting to go into a career right out of high school, they are prepared to do that. So we've put several measures in place that we have started, and some are planned and have not yet gotten off the ground. The first one is really for my office and the Department of College Ready, or Career Readiness rather, to have one point of contact at each school. So we've asked our middle schools and our high schools so far to identify who that point of contact is. So this is when we have different opportunities for students. we communicate directly with that person, and they understand that depending on what the activity is, that they need to talk with their principal, the other counselors at their school, a group of teachers, so that it's a streamlined process. In addition, we are looking to strengthen our partnership with the North Carolina Advanced Placement Partnership. This is a group that's funded by the state. I set up regular meetings with the associate director of the North Carolina AP Partnership. They provide our teachers with scholarships to attend professional development. We had some teachers go to a one-day workshop in the fall that was really about preparing those teachers, if they're not teaching an AP, but they're teaching courses that lead to AP, they want to start getting those teachers using strategies that kids will see when they get to advanced placement so that it's a seamless transition for those kids. If they're used to seeing those activities and that type of thinking in 9th and 10th grade, when they get to 11th and 12th grade and take those AP courses, they're more likely to be successful. So the AP partnership helps us with that. They provide scholarship funding for summer professional development, and they've been a great partner. The third bullet up here is our office organizing some specific professional development sessions for our advanced placement teachers. And so we're working on doing some half-day professional development where we would give the teachers a half a day of planning, where we would bring them together for a half a day, and they would be allowed, normally if you teach an advanced placement course, you may be the only teacher at your school that teaches that course. Most schools only have one AP biology teacher or one AP Earth Environmental Science teacher. So their professional learning community, as Dr. Jones talked about earlier, is difficult because within the school, they're the only one. So we want to provide some opportunities for them to come together to kick that off with a face-to-face and then continue those conversations virtually. So that process is going to be getting started this spring. And then the last bullet on here, as part of the Every Student Succeeds Act, we have been allotted some money through Title 4A that is specifically around career and college readiness, the whole child, healthy child. And so part of that funding that we've received from this grant is to fund this idea of having career and college readiness coordinators at some pilot schools that are interested. So we're talking to some schools that might be interested in doing that. And really, this is another way to fold into that school improvement plan of having an advocate for each child. And so all of these initiatives trying to tie them together so that it's not one more thing, but that it's integrated in the goals that the schools already have. Okay. So here are the performance indicators that you can see up here. And one of the things that we've tried to do specifically with our AP participation rate is to target our subgroups. We have a little bit of disproportionality with the with some of our subgroups with the percent of students that we have that are Black or Hispanic or Latino, and then the percent of students that are in these courses. So by disaggregating this and focusing on it, we're hoping to increase the number of minority students that are taking advanced placement courses. If you notice on here, we've got our benchmark data from last year. And then when you look at the AP participation rate, we're really looking to push that higher. Well, when that happens and you increase and expand that enrollment, you're going to have a wider variety of ability levels in those courses. And so one of the things that we're looking at is overall, we're hoping to increase our participation rate while maintaining our pass rate for the first couple years. Once we kind of feel like we've got this under control. So if you'll notice, we're not looking for the overall pass rate to increase until 1920, till the third year, because we're really going to focus on expanding participation and maintaining that with a larger group of students. So overall, we'll have more students that are receiving college credit with the same pass rate. And as you can see, we're hoping to continue to increase our enrollment in career and college promise courses. CTE completers are students who take a series of career and technical education courses that are aligned along a pathway. So they can, if they're completers, that means that they have focused in one area. And this usually leads to industry certification. So those two kind of go hand in hand. So we're looking to increase that. We have started some apprenticeship programs. I don't know if you notice up here, we had 0 last year. This year we have 4 students that are working directly with a local business where the students take a course and that business comes in and works with our students 2 days a week to train them. They consistently have between 50 to 80 vacancies. And I'm going to get the name of the company wrong. This is in Robert Filter, so I'm not going to give you the name of the company. He can provide that for you. But they told him that they consistently have between 50 to 80 vacancies for high school educated students. And so they're going to come and work with our students so that when they graduate, if they're ready to go into their career, they'll be ready to go. They'll already be trained, and it's a solid career that they can go into right out of high school. So we're trying to do that. And then we are looking at expanding our IB program. This is something that's in conversations, looking at making sure that if we're going to have an IB program, that it is a solid IB program that starts in kindergarten, and that we're looking at that through high school and what that looks like. The diploma program starts in 11th grade. And if you notice, our IB program candidates that earn IB diplomas, 96% of the students in there earn their diploma, which is an absolutely fantastic rate. It's a very rigorous exam that those students have to take. And in a lot of cases, that exam is a ticket to get them into lots of colleges of their choice. Many colleges will offer students free tuition if they've passed that IB diploma and earned that certificate.
Can I ask you a question about, or should I wait till the end?
You can ask now, that's fine.
So the IB program is at Marvin Ridge High School.
Correct.
What do we do to get the information about that program pushed out to sophomores? I saw on Facebook, Marvin Ridge put out, I think that pushing that information out to the entire county and letting all the sophomores in the county know that that's a program that they can attend, because you make a great point. IB students get a huge amount of scholarships to college, and that's a great program. I like the idea of expanded IB if it's a magnet, if kids throughout the county can come to it, and we're just not targeting one school or one section of the county to do it. I think that those programs, because of their potential for scholarships and things like that, should be open to the entire county in every way we can possibly make that happen.
Absolutely. They do have a few, right now we do not provide transportation for those students.
I understand that.
They do have some students that travel from other schools. And one of the things that you'll see,
it's like 96% Marvin kids, though, I think.
I don't think it's quite that high, but it's mostly Marvin. Absolutely. It's mostly Marvin students. One of the things that we are going to do that you'll see on the timeline here is I'll talk about a strategy that we're going to do to market all of the different options that we have for students to students across the county. To do exactly what you've just asked for.
Ms.
Because
Garner,
I agree.
If I could ask if y'all would look at possibly centralizing that, and if we could look at Central Academy, we already have a bus route in place, and that would make it available for Monroe students, Forest Hill students, Piedmont, and Parkwood.
And I think that, as we look at expanding this, some of a lot of these different considerations will be taken under consideration. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the timeline. I have done a stoplight indicator system here, so you can see that the green means it's completed and we're no longer doing any work with that. The yellow means that it has been started and it is in progress. In some cases, some of these are items that we've done a lot of work with, but we're not going to stop there. So we're going to continue that. And if you see the red stoplight, we have not yet started those. So we're working on the internship or the apprenticeship programs, if you will. We've got one. We want to expand that. Robert Filter, our Director of Career Readiness, is in conversations with several different local industries to continue to expand that. Our 4th and 7th grade classrooms are taking field trips to different colleges and universities, and they're all gearing up to do this. Some have already taken those trips. We've got trips planned everywhere from Wake Forest to Winthrop to Wingate to UNC Charlotte and Queens. Our students in 4th and 7th grade are visiting schools to just see what it's like in college. Many of our universities don't provide a guided tour, and so the schools are working to create a self-guided tour for the kids, and a lot of times they're going to piggyback that with another field trip. And so we've created a list of college contacts. We've made contact with the 16 University of North Carolina system schools, as well as some other local schools, just to make sure that there's a point of contact there that principals can access when they're planning these trips. We're continuing to work with our implementation of Naviance. We had training yesterday with our counselors and career development coordinators. We are getting ready to roll out the course planner portion of Naviance, which is going to help our our 8th grade through 11th grade students plan their high school courses that they're going to take in consideration with what they may want to do after high school. So it is essentially an online course catalog where the kids can see. And what it will do for them is once they put in their 4-year plan, it will give them a college power score that gives them the likelihood of their ability to get into a 2-year or trade school, a 4-year university, a selective 4-year university, or a highly selective 4-year university. It's a really neat little meter, if you will, that shows them that. So we're working with that. Still, schools have been provided parent access codes. We're working with them to get that information out. They are hesitant to share that until all of the data for students is in Naviance, which we're working on. But we're continuing to push on that.
Could I interrupt you real quick?
Sure.
What is your timeline to finish that part of the process so this will be out?
For parents?
Yes.
It's ready. I mean, it's ready for parents. So it is now up to the individual schools to go get those access codes, and we are sharing information with them. We're doing a Friday update for all of our career and college readiness liaisons. And there has been information in that Friday update continually about parent access codes. We've provided schools with some different documentation. So hopefully that will start coming home.
I would be interested in knowing what the marketing plan is for making sure that I don't want this to be the best kept secret in UCPS.
Yeah.
So I would be very interested in knowing how we're going to make sure that everyone is available, because I think this is really a groundbreaking step for us to fund this project system wide.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I don't want anybody to say, I wish I would have known about that 6 months ago or last year or what have you. So I would encourage a very thorough marketing and consistent throughout all the schools marketing plan, for lack of a better term, to make sure everybody's aware.
Okay, thank you. The other thing that for parents who are listening right now, we are treating the data in Naviance very carefully because there's sensitive information in there. Student record information is there, GPA, class rank, test scores, grades. So we're treating this data with the same level of sensitivity that we treat PowerSchool data with. One of the things I will say, parents can access it now if they sit down with their child side by side with them and say, hey, go open up your Chromebook, click on the icon for Naviance on their student Chromebook, and the kids are in, and the kids can sit with the parents and show them everything that the parents could see as well. So you do not. No. So the kids, to get it, the way that they log in, it takes them through Clever because it's a single sign-on for our kids. Okay. So it may look like they're going through Canvas. It's a separate integration, but they're not technically going through Canvas. Once the kids are logged into their Chromebook, they can get right in. Okay. Yeah.
I understand that marketing is important, but will we also offer some type of training for the parents other than the parents just sitting with the kid and saying, click on this?
Yeah, so schools are doing that individually. For example, Sun Valley High School is sharing information. I've been communicating with their counselor today. They're having a junior parent night coming up. They're going to share information about this at their junior parent night. So individual schools are taking that on. We have provided them with several different brochures and tutorials for parents that they can use to share that information. So they have a tutorial that shows parents how to access it, which is very easy. On your school's homepage, you go to parents and the Naviance Family Connection link is right there. We've provided them with a brochure that kind of gives an overview of what is Naviance and then a parent quick start guide. And so a lot of the schools are waiting until they have some of these junior parent night, things like that, to roll it out to parents. We can make those resources available on the college readiness website as well, so that parents can put on there, ask your school for access or sit with your child and get this.
Is information about it also on the UCPS app? Oh, there's so many good resources on the app. You might want to consider having some kind of access through there, because that's where I go to PowerSchool.
So you can get to it through the Empowered Family Portal. It is already linked in there. The one trick with this is because it's so customized, each school has their own link into Family Connection. So when you go to the Empowered Family Portal, if you go under the digital resources section, the parent resources rather, under those digital tools, you'll see Naviance Family Connection, and it'll take you to a page with a list of all the schools, and you can click in. You can also just go to your school's page, click parents, and get right in. So couple different ways to get there, but we'll make sure that we have additional information out there on the college readiness website. Okay. And then the last one, we've talked a little bit about the career and college readiness liaisons. We're going to also ask our elementary schools to designate that career and college readiness liaison, because thinking about college starts in elementary school. So that's why we have the 4th grade field trips. We haven't asked them to identify that liaison just yet, but that will be coming in the next couple of weeks. We have met with South Piedmont to talk about expanding our partnership with them around Career and College Promise, and we're working on an updated memorandum of understanding so that we can make sure that we understand what they're going to provide and what we're going to provide. And then again, this next point, develop a marketing strategy to inform students of high school options that lead to post-secondary opportunities. This is where I was talking about, I'm working with Robert Filter, Career Readiness, to hold a fair for students that lets them know about all of our academies, about our immersion programs, about our IB program. And he's looking at holding this at the Monroe Crossing Mall. They have a big open space so that all of our different schools with the different programs can set up a table, and we'll have students rotate through there to learn about the different options so that kids from all over the district can hear about the different academies and the IB program and the immersion programs. So those plans are happening now. We just took the PSAT back in October, and data came back in December. So kids have received those reports, and we are working with counselors and principals for how they're going to use that PSAT data. The College Board provides this wonderful report called AP Potential, where it allows you to look at a student's PSAT score and determine, based on how they did on the different sections of the PSAT, their likelihood of success in participating in different advanced placement courses. So we're working with counselors to use that data to get our enrollment up, and to go to specific kids and say, hey, you ought to consider taking this AP course. You've never taken one before, but based on your PSAT data, you would be a great fit for this. So those are great reports that we're working with our counselors on. We're discussing ways to increase that enrollment in IB and expand those opportunities. Virtual professional learning opportunities, that planning has started, but it is not finished. And we have one of the last piece that's on here that's red that we have not yet started. As we increase our enrollment in advanced placement courses with students who have never taken an advanced placement course before, they may struggle a little bit. But the data from the College Board shows that it is beneficial for a student to take an advanced placement course and struggle than it would be for them to never have that opportunity, that the opportunity is worth the struggle. So one of the things that we want to work with our AP teachers on is making sure that as they have a wider variety of students, that the rigor stays the same for that course, that we don't let that slip. So we're working with the College Board to create a walkthrough tool. They have one that they use for certain pieces, and we're going to adapt that tool to use in Union County so that as principals walk through advanced placement courses, and as they do their walkthroughs and are visiting, they will have some specific indicators and some look forwards as they go in those classrooms, and some conversation starters with the teachers as they do their observations and meet with those PLCs. All right. And so are there any other questions? This concludes my update on Strategic Initiative 1A or A1.
I just want to add one comment for the board and the public to know. This is the work that we're doing as a school system around college and career readiness is really, we are really leading the entire state in terms of this effort. And I want you all to know that this is work that we're all incredibly proud of and very thankful to the board for your support of this. One example, Ms. Gardner talked about the PSAT results from the fall. We reviewed that on Tuesday, and board, you're going to get a report as part of my update tomorrow evening where you can see the data. And what's interestingly is, and she mentioned this, mostly most school systems, when you expand access to things like AP or SAT or PSAT, you would normally see a pretty significant dip in performance. Based on our PSAT scores from the fall, we basically doubled the number of students in 10th and 11th grade that took the PSAT this fall. That's huge. And what's more important is that their performance is still exceeding the state and national benchmarks across the entire school system. And so that's just incredibly important work when you think about access and equity and removing barriers. And we're the only school system in this state that is doing this, that's providing the PSAT at no cost during the school day, and the same with the SAT. And I want to commend our team and thank our board again, because this is really groundbreaking, innovative work, and it gives all students a chance to really make sure we're examining their full potential and we're not eliminating someone from a certain potential class or pathway, if you will. So thank you to Ms. Gardner and to the team for your leadership on that.
Thank you. And also the SAT is going to be taken in school this year too, correct? And that's a huge comfort level, at least for my child.
Yes, the SAT will be taken in April during the school day. If any of our kids or parents are out there, please make sure the best, this is my opinion, the best SAT preparation course out there is free. It's called Khan Academy. Research has shown that students that spend a significant amount of time can greatly increase their scores. You can link that to the College Board. So for all of you, your high school kids and families, please make sure that they've done that. We're tracking that with the College Board to make sure schools are monitoring. That's a significant free resource that students can use.
I just want to add to that. One of the things that Khan Academy will do, and Career and College Readiness Liaisons are going to get this tomorrow in their Friday update. If the kids go to satpractice.org, that's the easiest website, they can go and it will, if they've created a College Board account, which most of our kids have done, and we're going to work to systematically make sure that our 8th graders do that, because our 8th graders are also taking the PSAT 8 January 23rd, which is exciting because now we'll have that trajectory to be able to help these kids from starting in 8th grade to do well. But if they go to satpractice.org and they use their College Board credentials, it will actually pull in the data from their PSAT or their SAT and create a diagnostic plan for them in Khan Academy to practice the skills that they need. And that's all completely free. And so our schools are working on that and getting kids linked between Khan Academy and College Board. Powerful. The word is that next year that Khan Academy is coming out with an ACT prep as well, so that whichever route kids need for their college experience, they'll be prepared.
Thank you very much for that presentation. That was a lot of information, but a lot of information that parents and students want to hear more about. So thank you very much for what you're doing. We will now have a Facilities Committee update. I'll turn it over to Kathy Heintel.
Thank you. The last Citizens Advisory Committee meeting is on January 18th at 6 p.m. at the Professional Development Center right here. After that, or that night, they will be making a recommendation to the Board of Education with respect to the option or options that they would like the board to approve. I want to thank all the members of the Citizens Advisory Committee for all the hard work that they've put in throughout this process. It's been amazing. We're excited to get the recommendation from the Citizens Advisory Committee. We hope to make a decision on the realignment at the March meeting. That's our expectation as of now, but we have to sit down and put all those dates together. I want to remind everybody about the realignment that we're looking at neighborhood schools. We had some citizens and students that were going 11 miles to school every day and going past their four other closer schools. So that's how all this kind of started. We're balancing utilization throughout our schools. We have some schools where in high schools in particular, we have some with 74% of utilization and some with 105% of utilization. So we're trying to fix the utilization issues. There's even more in the elementary school differences in utilization. We have a declining population. I mean, you've all heard about it on my BOE website and on some other members' Facebook pages, sorry, not websites, is a really great article from the Charlotte Observer talking about declining population and the reasons for that. So check that out. Marvin cluster is has the biggest declining population. The utilization rate for their elementary schools is in the 70s. So we need to start to try to bring back the utilization rates back up there. And I think that's about it that I have from an update. The next meeting of the Facilities Committee will be on Wednesday, January 17th at 8 a.m. at the PDC. That's my update. My next is the bond projects revision. and that's an action item. At November 20th, we met with the county commissioners in a joint meeting, and we presented to them the revisions to some of the bond projects and the revised budget for each of those projects. And we stayed within the $54 million bond that was approved. As people may remember, we adjusted some of the bond projects based upon the enrollment forecast and the capacity study that was done, so that we weren't putting additions on schools that didn't need additions anymore. Most of the projects that we had, with the exceptions of the transportation facility and Sun Valley High School, were done to put additions on the schools because they needed additions from the 2015 forecast. That forecast changed dramatically with the 2017 forecast, and that changed what we were doing to a lot of those schools. Sun Valley had additions and renovations, so it was a little bit of a different scope, and then the transportation facility is for the bus garage. We currently only have a 6-bay bus garage, and we need more than that with the 292 buses that run daily routes around here. So after the meeting with the county commissioners and getting their suggestions and answering their questions and all that, we all thought it would be a good idea to approve the revisions to the bond projects and then ask the county commissioners to approve that as well, so that we're kind of all on the same page moving forward before we finish the design aspect of these projects and then put them out to bid. So you received by email from me today the slide that says original versus proposed budgets, and it goes through each of the schools, and that's what we would like to approve to send to the county for approval. And if anyone has any questions on it, we went through each of the slides. That's still on the website, the UCPS website, if anybody wants to review it, but that's kind of where we are. So we need a motion, or I can make it. I make a motion that we approve the revised budgets for the 6 schools on the bond and the transportation facility, and we recommend it to for approval to the county commissioners. Yes. What'd you say? No. Thank you. Okay. So all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, seeing none. Okay, the next item is the Sun Valley High School design change, and that's an action. At the December 5th meeting, we approved the design changes to Sun Valley High School. The designs, the changes were made to better align with the goals of the project and to provide more value. At this point, we went back to the architects with the design changes, the offsite improvements, the addition of a weight room, because we have to get rid of their existing weight room in order to put the cafeteria into the school, the new cafeteria into the school, and the additional HVAC systems. The weight room and the additional HVAC are our bid alternatives, and we need to approve the design change fee of $275,000, $472 to Little. You'll remember too that the budget for Sun Valley High School increased $4.2 million. So I make a motion to approve the design changes for Little Diversified of $275,000, $472. I need a second.
I'll offer a second, and I also have a quick question, if I may. Could you refresh my memory on the construction timeline?
I believe that we go out to bid, we would be going out to bid in August, July. Do you remember? In phase, that's right. Site package in May. Okay, that's first phase.
August.
And these additional fees to the architect were already included in the budget.
What's our current estimate when all construction will be completed
At Sun Valley.
at Sun Valley?
That'd be January 2020, if I've got the right year.
2020. So we had a motion, a second.
Should the date be January the 4th, 2018 or 2017?
Yes, it should be 18. on the memo?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, are there any more questions? Okay, with a motion and a second, all those that approve the Sun Valley High School design changes and fees, raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, none.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Finance Committee report, Mr. Sides.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's that time again to start thinking about our next fiscal year. And in your package, you have the proposed budget timeline, which of course by statute, we are required to submit to the county, the local portion on May 15th, and which we were ahead of last year, and we anticipate being ahead of again. We appreciate our fine working relationship with the county commissioners, and they ask good questions, and we always have good answers. So we are proposing our meetings on the 4th Tuesday of the month, of which we will start in January. And just to let the public know, there are a lot of moving parts to your budget. You have a federal piece, you have a state piece, and on many occasions, you don't know the state piece till after the fiscal year has already started, July 1. So that makes it interesting. And then we have a local piece, which both a capital and an operating budget, which is funded by your county tax dollars. So we will be working with staff, reviewing the information as in their close work with the county finance staff. And we also have slated in April an optional joint meeting with the county to as we support an open dialogue with our commissioners, and then final approval by our board in May, with a submitted and formal presentation to the commissioners that month. And so I will ask for or make a motion forward for this board to approve the timeline.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, 9-0. Okay, Policy Committee update, Mrs. Hindhill.
There's policies for review and approval on the agenda next, I believe, and Mrs. Morris will take care of that, so I won't go over any of that. There's a lot of stuff on the review this month. We had kind of we had been working on other things, and there's a lot that we need to get done to get caught up to where we're supposed to be, because we review certain policies every year. So that's why you see more than normal. We also talked in policy committee about lice and nits. We reviewed that with staff, and that there's no other districts that have a lice policy. We got rid of our lice policy a couple years ago. All 53 schools have the same protocol on lice and nits, and that's where that is right now. We talked about the decision about Clorox and Lysol and the CDC and the things that they say about those type of products. And in 2014, there was a local decision to not use those in the schools anymore. Then we took up grandfathering. So we've already approved rising 10th through 12th, so currently seated 9th through 11th students. As long as they provide their own transportation, they can stay in their current school until they graduate. We were doing this in phases. The next phase was rising 9th, then middle schoolers, then elementary schools. So we dealt with rising 9th. You should all have in front of you the chart that we put together. That's looks like this. That is high school as it would look next year. So it's using data 8th through 11th enrollment, not current high school like most of the data that the Citizens Advisory Committee has. So just so everybody understands that. We use the 75% column, which is the kind of pink column on your sheet. Last time, the number of, or the percentage of students that took grandfathering in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, because that was offered last time, was averaged about 76%. So we figured that was a good number to kind of go with. So I'd just like to point out a couple things as you look at the column. Particularly Cuthbertson High School. And these are the remaining options. So in the Western schools, it's B and F, and in the Eastern high schools, it's F and F1. Cuthbertson would be at if 75% of the kids that are being moved into Cuthbertson come to Cuthbertson, and 75% of the kids that are moving out of Cuthbertson stay at Cuthbertson, then this is what it looks like, which is not a realistic thing for the county as a whole, but it's taking a snapshot of just that school. The 25-75, which is the last column, is if 25% of the kids that are being moved into Cuthbertson come, so the other 75% take the grandfathering at their old school, and 75% of the students that are moving out decide to take the grandfathering at Cuthbertson, if that makes any sense at all. So for Cuthbertson High School, under the 75%, which is what we use to do the rising 10th, 11th, and 12th, Cuthbertson's highest would be 103%, or 1,848 students. They currently have an enrollment of 1,627, and they're at 91% of utilization. Monroe High School, which is pre-bond. So they have, if you look at your chart, they have 13 MCRs that they currently use, but they would be undergoing a renovation of 6 new classrooms, a new elevator, and some hallway space. They are currently they're currently at 97% at 1,193 students, or 1,226 at month 2. They would be going to 1,352 under the 75% option, or at 107% of capacity. Most of their MCRs would stay in place, though, during construction, able to be utilized for classrooms. Cuthbertson High School has no MCRs. Next would be Porter Ridge High School pre-bond. They are slated to get either 2 or 4 classrooms, depending on the bid. They currently have 1,728 students, are at 96% of capacity. There's no MCRs on their campus. There's a whole bunch next door, but nothing at the high school. They would go to 1907 in the highest, or in all the options, and that's 105% of capacity. Sun Valley High School pre-bond. They currently have 13 MCRs. They will be losing a significant number of those MCRs. A significant amount of the MCRs that are currently there are supposed to be gotten rid of for the construction, because where a lot of the current MCRs sit is exactly where the new additions to the school will go. So they will lose a significant amount of that classroom space. They currently have 1,568 students in the school, and they are at 105% of capacity in a small cafeteria. They would go to 1,684 under the options, which would be 113% of capacity. They will be undergoing renovations for a few years. So that's kind of what the data is. The other schools don't go above the 100%, so I didn't mention them in this. If the grandfathering happening, they would be, if this plays out, the 75%. The 25-75, the numbers are a little bit lower, but Sun Valley and Porter Ridge and Monroe would still be at 100% or over 100%. So what the idea is, and what the recommendation coming out of facilities was to grandfather the rising 9th graders, so that they could go from their 8th grade cluster and stay in the same cluster through high school if they provided their own transportation. Knowing, and I think what we talked about at facilities, that this would be a 1-year thing, that it could be a little bit crowded in some of the schools if this 75% plays out, which again is not a completely realistic thing. But if it played out the way it is, it would be a year that it would be like that. Did I say everything, I think, from facilities? What? Policy, sorry. I keep saying facilities, policy. This was policy. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
I have a quick question. Do you know when we can expect a grandfathering policy for middle school and elementary schools?
Well,
Because I'm
middle
getting
school's
questions about
next. Middle school's next, and we have a meeting on the 24th at
Okay.
9 a.m.
Okay. So then in March, possibly elementary schools?
February, elementary schools. Elementary
excuse me, yeah.
school, we're going to have to see how House Bill 13 plays out first, because as we've discussed in policy before, because of the K through 3 numbers, we have to be careful that we don't grandfather a lot that would push numbers way out of whack. The realignment takes into account House Bill 13 in our elementary schools. And if we have to look very carefully at elementary schools and grandfathering if House Bill 13 stays in place. That's about what I can say.
Could you just explain for folks that may not be familiar with what HB 13?
House Bill
Give the
13
background.
is a law that was passed by the state that lowers the class size of kindergarten through 3rd grade next school year, 18 through 18-19 school year. And it makes it so that kindergarten is 18 kids per classroom, 16 in 1st grade, and 17 in 2nd and 3rd grade. And that's a hard and fast number. There's no wiggle room. There's not a lot of anything to it. So what that does then, if you have to utilize classrooms for that, your 4th and 5th grade can be pushed, it's higher. Their class sizes are going to be bigger because the school only has so many classrooms. It will also require us to hire how many more?
64.
64. I've seen stuff in the paper today. There was a meeting yesterday with Charlotte Meck and some of the state representatives. They're still talking about it. So we're hoping that in some ways that gets changed, because it will be a great burden on hiring that kind of teachers. Hiring 64 teachers is going to be an enormous task. And I think Charlotte Meck said it was 200, 300 and some odd teachers, and Wake, and add all that to it. So that's what House Bill 13 is. When we had the outside consultant come in and do the capacity study, we had him set the capacities of the elementary schools, taking into account House Bill 13 and the K through 3 funded allotment, so that if it goes in effect, which we've been told that it would, that we were set for that and we had an idea of what things would look like. So if we did the realignment, we weren't overcrowding those schools. So that's kind of where we are.
Just as a reminder, they had initially told us last budget cycle that it would go
17,
into
18.
effect this school year, and they postponed it another year. So we're under the assumption that come August, they're going to, stay true to their promise, and we'll be under that parameter for having more kindergarten through 3rd grade classrooms and fewer 4th grade and 5th grade classrooms.
And I had read that they were not going to bring this up in this session. So it wouldn't be until April or May before we heard anything from there. And basically by that time, we really have to have planned for where we're going to be with respect to that. So that's what House Bill 13 does. So that's kind of the last thing we can really look at is elementary, and we're waiting. I know it's warming. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on the grandfathering of rising 9th graders currently seated 8th graders? In the last realignment, this was not done. Only 10th, 11th, and 12th got grandfathered. So on November 7, 2017, the Board of Education adopted a grandfathering plan for all seated high school students. I make a motion to expand the categories of students eligible for grandfathering to allow the following students to remain in the cluster to which they are currently assigned. Rising 9th graders, current 8th grade students. Students otherwise eligible for grandfathering may be reassigned if the special program required to meet the needs of the student is not in the school to which the student is currently assigned, or pursuant to an assignment to an alternative school. Additionally, a student will not be able to gain admission into a special program school, i.e. CATA or UCEC, or an academy within a school, for example, culinary arts or law enforcement, through the grandfathering process. Any student who takes advantage of the grandfathering option shall provide their own transportation. This came out of policy, so it does not need a second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes 9-0. Thank you.
And then Next meeting is January 24th, 9 a.m. at the PDC. It is also live streamed. And at that meeting, we will take up 6th and 7th grade students. And we're discussing both through their terminal grade of 8th grade and through all the way through high school. So those are the two things on the table.
Thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. We will now move to policies for review. Mrs. Morris.
Yes, good evening, members of the board. There are 6 policies on the agenda tonight for review. And all of them are policies that are up for regular review as part of the 6-year review cycle. Excuse me. And unless you're going to go through them one by one, I would say that all of them, with the exception of E, policy 1-20, there are no recommended changes by staff. Policy 1-20, the recommendation from staff is to strike this policy in its entirety. I don't know if you want to go one by one, or if you have any questions on those. Okay. The next are policies for approval. And you have 3 policies before you for approval. The first one is policy 1-13, public hearings. This came before you at not the last meeting, but I think the meeting before, and has been to the policy committee twice, and I've received no additional comments from the community or stakeholders. And the recommendation of the policy committee was for approval this evening.
I move that we approve policy 1-13, public hearings, should we do them individually?
We could do them all together if you want me to.
1-35, invocation, which is a new policy, and policy 4-3C, prohibition of gangs and gang activities. This doesn't need a second as it came out of policy.
And like the first one, the other 2 also have been before you at the November meeting and then been to policy twice. And I've received no comments on any of them.
Board, all those in favor of approving policy 1-13, 1-35, and policy 4-3C, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? Okay, passes 9-0.
Thank you.
Okay, I do not believe we have any closed session decisions tonight. And that brings us to board comments.
Well, I just want to take a moment to thank Dr. Jones and Ms. Gardner for all their hard work, especially for a parent of a high school student with all the SAT and ACT prep. It's very stressful at my house, probably till this time next year. And there's also an ACT prep and SAT prep at our high schools on Saturdays. And I believe that's on the website as well. It's through. Right. And credit goes to schools as well. If so many children come. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're doing a little bit.
Okay, great. So as a parent, let me say thank you to you and Dr. Jones and your staff for helping set this up and developing this, because it makes my life just a little bit easier. So thank you so much.
I'd like to extend some thanks to Mr. Strickland and all the facilities and transportation workers that are getting up, a couple hours before their normal time to come in and prep the facilities and the buses for these extreme, for our area, weather conditions. So thank you.
I would add to it, in working on holiday on Monday, to all the bus drivers and the maintenance staff that got out there and started the buses, made sure they work and the heat work. And I know in some cases the heat didn't work the next morning, but that didn't mean you guys weren't there on Monday making sure that they were working. So we do really appreciate that.
I just want to add all the staff at the elementary schools helping the kids get out of the car in the cold. Thank them also. So.
Again, I just want to thank facilities and transportation, especially working on a holiday, going into all 53 schools, making sure that the heat was working. If there were challenges, you were already on top of it, and getting the ball rolling to make changes. We did have some challenges, but the Merrill household also had a challenge. I went out for a meeting on Tuesday, returned home, and
the heat was out. So that's just how things happen. You can check on it one day and you have heat, and then the next day you do not have heat. So that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So, but to our staff, I do thank you for taking such good care of our schools and our students and our teachers and our buses, and to our bus drivers, you know, who are out there, you know, at 4 o'clock in the morning, preparing their buses and making sure that the doors can open from the ice and ready to go pick up our students. And I just want to wish this board a happy, you know, what is it, Board Appreciation Month. The 8 members, or I'm not including myself, I might as well, all 9 of us work very, very hard to serve our schools and to serve our teachers and serve our students. And I really enjoy working with each and every one of you, and I want to thank you for your commitment and your dedication to Union County Public Schools. And I just want to wish everyone a happy New Year.
Oh, I'd like to do a little something different. My comments tonight, I'd like to recognize what I will call one of the quiet heroes of UCPS, Mitchell Privet. Mitchell, if you would mind standing up, I got his approval to make sure it wouldn't embarrass him. He's a 9th grader across the street at CATA, son of Greg and Christy Privet. Mitchell is studying in the computer science field. And you may ask, well, that's great. Of course, all our students are special. But what's particular about this is in the 6th grade, Mitchell was diagnosed with moderate to severe dyslexia and dysgraphia. How successful is he? Well, at CATA, arguably one of our, if not most, rigorous, challenging curriculum. Is it okay to give this out now? I want to make sure. Okay. Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. This is the first 6 weeks report card. 87, a B. World History, A. Microsoft Excel and Access, A. English, A. Mitchell is also Microsoft certified already in Excel and PowerPoint. Even more special, Mitchell helps others. Christy, his mother, is a leader in a local chapter of Decoding Dyslexia, a very important group working with parents that don't know where to turn for their children. They feel have dyslexia. Mitchell volunteers to mentor younger students that don't know where to turn or what to do, that struggle with dyslexia. And I didn't stage this. I didn't know it was mentoring month. It's just falls into place. But Mitchell, you are a hero, and I appreciate all your efforts and what you're doing to bring attention to this. And I wish you much success. And also, don't let up on us, that we as a system and as a board and me personally do all we can to ensure that all of our students that struggle with this are truly as successful as you are proving to be. You, son, are a hero. And thank you. And yes. There you go. And I would also like to thank staff for all their hard work in the cold weather and wish everyone a happy new year. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, do we have any announcements? Okay, I think we need to make one announcement for curriculum. Some were made earlier tonight, but the curriculum committee meeting will be January 25th at 8:30 here at the PDC, 8:30 a.m. Okay. Okay, and that brings us to number 22, people.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.